It's kind of felt like Kentucky has been on borrowed time as of late, and yet the Kentucky Wildcats are still dancing.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe. On today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, that's right, we're going to be discussing Kentucky basketball's incredible win over Illinois to advance to the Sweet 16. In my wildest dreams, I could not have imagined Mark Pope having as incredible of a season as he has had thus far. It's not over yet, ladies and gentlemen. Cats now sitting at 24-11 as they will take on the Tennessee Volunteers in Indianapolis. What a game, what a season. You didn't want it to end in the round of 32, of course, but you would take what you could get. I was so incredibly thankful and just impressed with the way that Mark Pope had handled this team this season, the fact that he built this thing from scratch, the fact that he was able to put this all together, get so many incredible wins underneath his resume, and here we are now, heading to the Sweet 16. The season's not over yet. The Cats are still dancing. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You can download the Game Time app. You can create an account. And you can use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Want to remind everyone out there that we are free and available on all platforms. And if you are watching on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the show. And if you are listening on podcast, I would also appreciate it if you subscribed there as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Final score in this one, Kentucky 84. The 6th-seeded Fighting Illini of Illinois 75. Obviously, you can see here that I'm not in my normal studio. In fact, I'm in downtown Dallas to help produce Locked On's Bracket Breakdown presented by Fire TV. It's been super fun to get to work with Locked On this project. Of course, it's taken me away from the studio for the time being, and it's kind of crazy to kind of see everything unfold, to be able to talk Cats with people like Gordon Hayward, Monique Billings. It's just been an incredible, and I mean incredible 24 hours here for me as we embark on a deeper NCAA tournament run than I could have ever imagined. It's been far too long. We have waited forever for Kentucky to get deep into the NCAA tournament. At least it feels like for me. The entirety of my time doing this show has been spent wondering and waiting. When will Kentucky finally break through and establish what used to be a team that used to pride itself on making these deep NCAA tournament runs? And here you see Mark Pope with the Cats that are injured. They are beaten. They are held together by duct tape. And it feels like they are fighting harder than they have this entire season. And I could not be more impressed and proud with. You can name every single player that stepped out onto the court today. They showed what it means to be a Kentucky Wildcat. They played like their life depended on it, and they got a huge win over a very good Illinois team, and it sets up a rubber match. I shouldn't say that. It sets up a third game here against the Tennessee Volunteers. You've already beaten them twice, and if I know anything, according to the internet, at least things that people have told me on the internet, apparently it's nearly impossible to beat a team 3 times in a row, and then we met the Alabama Crimson Tide in the SEC tournament. So I'm heading into this Tennessee matchup going, look, I am so happy and thankful for what this team has been able to bring me personally, and then obviously all of us together here at Locked On Kentucky and in the Kentucky fan base. What they've been able to do for us this season has just been nothing short of incredible. This has been one of my favorite teams I have ever covered, and it may go down as my favorite. This has just been a joy to see these kids come together in kind of a last-minute effort with their collegiate eligibility either running out, or guys that have come from different parts of the country in the transfer portal that were either sophomores or underclassmen or heading into their junior season. They've still got time left. It's still, you're getting together for one main goal, and that's to go out and win championships. That's what Mark Pope said whenever he stepped on campus, whenever he stepped into Rupp Arena holding up that title. He wants to win banners. He wants to hang banners, and that's what Kentucky is on the path to doing right now is like, look, yes, the Tennessee game, it's going to be incredibly difficult right now. Kentucky is favored to lose that game by between 4 and 5 points, depending on if it's KenPom or if it's FanDuel. But I'll tell you this, it's been amazing. It's been incredible, but you cannot tell me for 1 second, after seeing the way that Kentucky played against Troy and seeing the way they played earlier today. Right now it's 2 a.m. as I'm recording this Central Standard Time. You cannot tell me that Kentucky is not going to give it everything they've got against the Vols. Now, the matchup itself, I think, is going to be really interesting. We'll talk with Eric Kane, host of Locked On Vols, tomorrow, actually, to kind of break this game down even further, to kind of see what his take on it is. But I'll tell you this right now. Kentucky is going to fight like their life depends on it again here later on this week. Get some time to rest Lamont Butler, get some time to rest Amari Williams, get some time to rest this entire team. See if they can sharpen up, focus up, and see if they can beat the Vols somehow 3 times in a row. I think they're going to be ready for it. I really do. And I know that there's no such thing as a jinx. So I step into this matchup finally with not an arrogant confidence, but and not a pride in a negative context, but a pride and a hope. I think in this team, after they showed that they can compete with some really, really high-quality competition throughout the course of this season, and they're playing really good basketball right now. It's what Pope constructed this roster to do. I could not be more impressed with the way that Kentucky is playing ball right now, finding a way to win. Of course, we'll get into stats here. We'll break all different kinds of things down as we continue to roll here on Locked On Kentucky. Before we continue along, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Game Time. Of course, Game Time, guys, if you want to get tickets to the NCAA Tournament, if you want to get them in Indianapolis, if Kentucky somehow miraculously manages to go deeper into this thing and they manage to make it to the Final Four, they manage to make it to San Antonio, you're going to want to go to Game Time. Imagine watching the Cats live. Imagine watching this team live. You can feel the energy of the crowd. You can witness unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game in person, and getting tickets shouldn't be stressful, and that's where Game Time comes in for you, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. Curation makes it easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, any event near you. I've taken a look at the Game Time app, obviously, for MLB games coming up for the Braves. Of course, I will be going to check out Atlanta here in a few weeks. Super excited about that. It's super easy ticket shopping. They've got super deals, the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. You've got peace of mind with seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and the lowest price guarantee. You can book your tickets with total confidence, whether it's the Sweet 16 or beyond. Game Time is where you need to go to get your tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Game Time by downloading the Game Time app, creating an account, and using code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. You can download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, continuing along here on what is the very early Monday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you again. I appreciate you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Look, if you're watching this show for the first time, first of all, this is not the normal setup, obviously. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have not subscribed, I would love it if you did so. Look, thank you so much to everyone. Thank you so much to everyone who has been along for the ride this season. The positive, the negative, the in-between, all the people that have commented, that have joined the bracket group, that have reached out on Twitter. Thank you guys so much. This has been nothing short of a dream for me. This has been incredible. I've loved every single moment of it, and I cannot thank you enough for watching and listening. This has been just awesome, and I hope that I continue to get to do it. I hope the Cats find a way to get deeper into this tournament, because you're here now at the Sweet 16, and I really do hope the Cats can find a way to continue to play really good basketball, and that's what they delivered here against the Fighting Illini. Again, 84-75 is the final score. We'll dive into some specifics here, and I want to start with the guy that may not lead the team in scoring. He may not necessarily lead the team in flashy plays, but what he is the heart and soul of this team, and if he's not out on the floor, Kentucky can struggle. And Brad Underwood, Illinois head coach, said this in the postgame. Kentucky will go as far as Lamont Butler wants to take them. 14 points today on 4 of 5 shooting in 33 minutes of play. Knocked down 2 threes for the first time since mid-January. Had 2 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, only 2 turnovers. You would not ask to go into battle with a different point guard. I would not dare go into the fray with none other than Lamont Butler. This kid is a warrior. Again, his shoulder is being held together by duct tape and Big Blue Magic. And he got out there earlier today with a shoulder brace, and he toughed it out. He laid it all on the line, and he played immaculately. Again, 14 points, shooting 4 of 5, knocking down 2 huge threes, 5 assists, 2 boards, 3 steals. You're not going to get that type of production and also watch the game and see how he impacts it on the court defensively, and you don't see that show up in the stat sheet, by the way. You're not going to get that type of overall production anywhere else. I wouldn't pick anybody over Lamont Butler right now. He is the heart and soul of this team. He is the biggest cog in the machine, and he is somebody that I will go to war with here against the Tennessee Volunteers. I really do hope that he is able to maintain at least some semblance of health so that he can give it his all again against Tennessee, because I know he's going to. Lamont Butler was incredible today. Also, hitting a career high in points, going off 4 straight possessions of nothing but sweet string music, scoring on 4 straight possessions, 23 points, 6 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, no turnovers. That would be Koby Brea, the Dayton transfer. It's kind of funny. I was sitting there watching the game with everybody in studio or in the green room here in Dallas. We were talking with people like Allie Bronson and Isaac Shade and Andy Patton of Locked On College Basketball, Monique Billings, current WNBA player Gordon Hayward, former NBA player, obviously, all these different people, all these incredible faces. And it was so funny after the game to listen to Isaac Shade and Hayward and I just kind of talk about why Koby Brea hasn't gotten over 23 points. It's kind of surprising, all things considered. You would have thought one game at Dayton, considering how good he shot, how well he shot the ball last season, that he would get a performance with the Flyers where he would be able to knock down some shots, get a little bit more volume despite the front court presences that they had. They also had some really good shooters surrounding Brea. We talked about that in the offseason last year whenever we were breaking down just why he was underutilized at Dayton and how much value he could have brought to the team if they just let him shoot a couple of more shots a game. And you see it here. He is not just your typical three-point shooter that can play a little defense, which, by the way, he stepped it up on defense as of late. While starting the beginning of the season as, I would say, a minus defender and not a plus defender, you've seen him grow in that area while also, because of injuries, having to create and handle the ball a little bit more. He was 10 of 16 in this game. Only half of those shots were from 3, and you may say only half. Normally you see Koby Brea shoot a lot of threes, and that kind of make up what he's doing. But again, 10 of 16, 7 of his 10 field goals made were inside the arc. And it was at the rim. It was fadeaways. It was 15-foot jumpers. It was everything. You saw the whole package. This kid is legit. And I think he can be a legitimate source of offense, especially when paired, if Kentucky's going to make a deeper run, which again, it's if they've gotten to this point, and I could not ask for more. Absolutely not. But if they're going to, having him paired beside Otega Oweh with 15 points, 6 of 12 shooting today, a little bit of foul trouble in the first half, but in the second half, he exploded. It's really crazy to see kind of the pairing here, right? And kind of think back to where Kentucky was at the beginning of the season and kind of the refrain that we've hit on so much here at Locked On Kentucky about how Kentucky, the narrative And we talked about this a lot, is that Kentucky didn't have a guy that could create an isolation. They didn't have a go-to scorer. And yet Otega Oweh is that. He has proven here throughout the course of the end of the season, he can be that. He can be that twice against his former team. He can be that here against Illinois when Kentucky needs him the most. He can be that against Troy when he drops 20 because they literally cannot stop him from getting to the rim. This kid is Kentucky's biggest source of offense. And it's so hard with that 1-2 punch of Koby Brea and Otega Oweh to stay in front of that, especially whenever you've got guys like Amari Williams running your offense. 15 points for Otega Oweh again today. 6 of 12 shooting, 4 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block in 25 minutes of play. Had 2 fouls in that first half. Didn't draw a foul in the second. Did not pick up a foul in the second half, I should say. Brea, Butler, Oweh. Let's get to Amari Williams. We mentioned him a second ago. Some of the shots were not great. Some of the shot selection was not phenomenal. But let me tell you what this guy did here. 8 points, yes, 4 of 11 shooting. 10 boards, some of them big defensive rebounds. 6 assists, 1 steal, 3 blocks. And you may say, well, he's got those 6 assists. Surely, he turned the ball over a little bit, right? Just 1 turnover. 8 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 blocks, 1 steal, 1 turnover. Amari Williams, yes. Could he be more efficient? Absolutely. Could we maybe back players down a little bit deeper into the paint? For sure. Could we dunk the basketball more often when we get the opportunity? Yeah. But it's come out. Amari Williams has been dealing with a little bit of a back issue, and it's been toughing it out for him. That's been the conversation over the last several weeks, is that he has kind of deteriorated a little bit in health, as has every team, as have most of the Kentucky Wildcats, right? But he's asked to do so much. Reading, reacting, offensively, running everything, leads the team in assists here. 18 assists on the day for the Wildcats, just 5 turnovers. That's right, just 5 turnovers against the Illinois Fighting Illini. And Amari, in 26 minutes, was obviously 4 of 11. It's short of perfection. But when you start to look at everything else in the stat sheet, you can't help but think, okay, if he's playing like this and we can get 4 of 11 out of him and get this other production, what could we possibly get in what could end up being his final game of his college career? Or maybe he's got a couple more in him. Who knows? I'm very excited. Butler, Brea, Oweh, Williams, they've all been incredible. And I want to talk about here to round out, the remaining cast, the players that kind of stepped up in this game, that may not necessarily make a big mark on the stat sheet, but I think when you talk about their individual performances, they come up huge at various important moments in this contest. Andrew Carr had 4 points on 2 of 8 shooting. It's not great. But when you watch him play, when you see the 6 rebounds, when you see 3 of them were on the offensive glass, when you see he had 2 assists, when you see he had 3 steals and no turnovers, or 1 turnover, excuse me. When you start to see everything else, it paints a broader picture. And when you see that and 1 go in towards the end of the game, and you see him shout, exhilarated, excited, you get to see it in his face. That kid was worn out, and he was putting it all on the line. Kentucky may not win another game. They could lose to Tennessee by 40. But let me tell you what this team understands, and I think Andrew Carr is a perfect example of it. They understand the assignment. Mark Pope said it. These players said it when they got here. And that was the question. Can they get there? Again, they very well may not. They could lose to Tennessee. Absolutely. Tennessee could come in. They could devise a new defensive strategy to try and hold Kentucky off the 3-point line. Obviously, guys are banged up. You could start to try and exploit certain matchups. This could be a game that gets out of hand for the Cats. but they know it's at stake. They know what they have to do, and they're executing right now. And players like Carr, I think, just embody everything you want in a Kentucky player. You work hard. You stay with it throughout the entire game. 32 minutes in this one from start to finish, man. Andrew Carr was great. I thought that he was really solid. Trent Noah, 4 points in 8 minutes off the bench. Had that really smart 3-point shot there at the end of the half to draw a foul, to get to the charity stripe, knocked down a pair of free throws, made his only field goal on a great pass from Garrison. Trent Noah played well tonight. Ainsley Almanor, 5 points off the bench in 8 minutes. 1 of 3 from beyond the arc. He was due. You saw him in that corner. It's automatic, dude. A board and an assist to go along with his 5 points. Brandon Garrison, also 2 of 8, as well as Andrew Carr. Finished with 5 points. 0 of 2 from 3. He had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 turnover. A little bit of foul trouble for Garrison, but I think overall you can't really complain that much. Yes, some of the shots were not great, but again, I think selection is more important here. I think that with better selection comes more efficiency, no duh. Players like Garrison, I think they've got that in them. It's just a little too strong, and frankly, I think the ball, we could talk about the theory about the ball being too inflated. It's not theory, it's reality, that the ball in the NCAA tournament, at least the Wilson ones, are way overinflated. And you see some of those layups that Brandon Garrison and different Kentucky players had, when they go off the rim or off the backboard, they like shoot off of it. It's way too, it's overinflated. Absolutely is overinflated. And players like Brandon Garrison, you see his shot go up and you see it clank off and you get upset, and then you realize when you watch it back, like, wait a minute, maybe a little bit more is going on here than we realize. Who knows? And then the final player here, Colin Chandler. Let me tell you something about Colin Chandler. He is going to be a problem next season. He's already a problem right now. 6 points, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. Had 3 steals, 1 board, no turnovers. 3 steals. 1 of 3 Cats that had 3 steals on this day. 14 steals for Kentucky. 14. Wow. And every single Illinois turnover was earned. Stole the ball away from him 14 times. For Chandler to be able to produce on the defensive end, get steals, while also being able to catch and shoot and spot up from deep. That kid is confident in his outside shot. He's going to be a problem next year in Lexington. If I'm not mistaken, it's either his fiance or his girlfriend or his I can't remember the specifics, but his partner is, I believe, moving to Lexington. So we're almost definitely going to see sophomore year Colin Chandler, and I can't wait to see it. But let me tell you what I'm more excited about seeing right now is Colin Chandler versus Tennessee. I really do hope he's able to put together another good performance. The kid's been shooting the lights out of it recently. He's been playing backup point. He's been super valuable there for Kentucky. I think that he's going to do great things. If it's not to end this season, I think it's going to be in the future. Absolutely, for Kentucky basketball. Cats shoot 47.1% from the floor on the day, 38.1% from beyond the arc, 8 of 21. Only 60% from the charity stripe, with Brandon Garrison going 1 of 3, with Otega Oweh going 3 of 5, Amari Williams and Andrew Carr missing both their free throws. And it was enough. It ended up being enough with that flurry that Kentucky had to start the second half. You needed a strong middle 8, and you got it. Illinois, Tomislav Ivicic led it was actually Kylan Boswell. That kid can hoop, by the way. 23 points, 9 of 14 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3. He had 6 assists, but he also had 3 turnovers. Ivicic, brother of Zvonimir, had 19 points on 6 of 15 shooting, 6 board, 3 assists, 4 blocks. 4 of the Fighting Illini's 5 blocks. Ivasic and Boswell were simply not enough. Illinois kept chucking up shots, and they just couldn't hit. This was an extremely erratic team. We knew that going in. And they get hot, and they get cold, and they get hot. And, well, today they were cold, which is, I guess, lucky for Kentucky in a sense. But also, I think Kentucky really did enough to win this game. Even if Illinois is shooting an average percentage from deep, I think that the Cats would have been in this one or still won anyway. I think that today, games like today, are just a testament to how good of a coach Mark Pope actually is. And look, we could have things fall apart on Friday. Yeah, we could. But you cannot take this season away from Mark Pope. You cannot take away the Duke win. You can't take away Florida. You can't take away Texas A&M. You can't take away Gonzaga. You can't take away Illinois. You cannot take away this team from the fans, and you can't take this season away from Mark Pope. I'm so proud of what this team has accomplished, and I'm rooting for them to go deeper. If they don't, I'm just happy to be here. But if they do, it's KY till I die. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to tonight's episode of Locked On Kentucky. Again, this was just an all-over-the-place type day. Just incredible work with Locked On and Fire TV doing bracket breakdown. This has been just incredible, super fun, super awesome. Can't wait to talk with Eric Kane of Locked On Vols tomorrow about Kentucky, about the Vols, about the rematch here, third game of the season between the Vols and the Cats. Can Kentucky get it done again? We'll just have to find out. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow me on Twitter at Lance_. And you can follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave those in the YouTube comments below. You can hit me on socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And God bless.